I'll see you there, and remember, together, we are taking care of business in Redlands.
KCAA.
You're listening to U-Turn, a show about finances, nonprofit organizations, and politics in your county. And here is your host, Nadia Renner, Tom Murphy, and Eric Steinman with U-Turn.
Details.
Welcome to U-Turn, our second show. I can't believe we're already on the second show. We started last week. We invited everybody to come and listen, and we invite everybody to listen to our new show. This is the second show. We're so excited. Welcome to U-Turn, Eric. Welcome to U-Turn, Tom.
It's great to be back. Thank you.
We also want to invite everybody to listen, not just because we have a great message, but also because we care about the people, and we want to hear your guys' opinion. Call in, and everybody who calls in on our show is gonna go with some type of reward. Is that right, guys?
That's it.
So the number that you can call in, it's the 909-792-5222. That's 909-792-5222, where you can call in, and we're really gonna concentrate more on like charities type of stuff. If your kids are selling chocolate, you can call us in and tell us what they're selling chocolate for, whether it's football, baseball, or just for school in general. We would love to be part of that cause and help, and maybe buy the whole box or two, right?
We'll help the cause, and you can keep the box.
Well, I'll take one chocolate. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll take one. Tom?
So to restate this, let me make sure I understand you correctly.
Okay.
That anybody who calls in and we take their call, that they'll earn something for their favorite charity or cause. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the phone number is 909-792-5222. That's where you guys can call in, and you guys could give us it could be anybody, right? It could be a charity that you really like. It could be a dog, a pet charity. It could be anything.
Okay. Last week we had a gentleman call in. His name was Mark. Anything we can do for Mark?
Absolutely. You know what? Since Mark was our first winner, Mark, if you're listening to our show again today, please call back. We have something for you, right? We're going to have something for him, because he was our first, and he was our first caller. So I think we definitely should reward Mark. And you could also, like I said, be one of our callers, and you'll get a reward.
So you guys had the idea to do a spin the wheel, which you found a phone app for.
Yes. Yes, I did. It's right here.
And there is a video feed of this if you want to verify this, but the idea was to do this spin the wheel phone app for between $100 and $500 to give to any of our callers, charity or good cause of choice. So why don't you guys see how this is going to work? Let's take our maiden test drive on that and see what Mark's calling back in for.
Well, Tom is trying.
If that had been Mark's call, which it wasn't, Mark will call in, we hope.
No, that's what Mark gets. Yeah, he got $200.
Oh, is that okay? All right.
That's where it landed on, $200.
That's where it ended up.
So if you call in, and Tom's going to do the same thing with his phone app, and you're going to get between $100 and $500 for a charity or cause of your choice.
Well, congratulations, Mark. You just won $200. Call us back, 909-792.
Let's make sure that you understand that's for a charity or a cause of his choice.
Correct. So that's 909-792-5222. Last week, it was our first show, and let's just, for the people that didn't hear a show last week and are tuning in this week, why don't we explain and tell them what the mission of our radio show, U-Turn, is?
U-Turn Radio is turning things around. And we're going to cover a wide variety of topics as our shows progress. But our primary emphasis is really on politics or issues at the local level that the citizens need to pay attention to and turn around, because one person can't turn this boat around. It's activity at the local level by citizens that are involved that'll turn things around, and specifically or our favorite topic, I guess you would say, is at the county government level. That's where we're targeting, not targeting, that's a bad way to say it. That's where our area of interest and concern lies right now. And it should be the area and interest of concern to our listeners.
That's right. And talking about listeners, Mark called in last week. And can we play what Mark said last week as far as his concern with our topics?
And while you're teeing that up, so that's where the U part of U-turn comes in too.
Throw in my 2 or 3 cents in from the thoughts that I was hearing. First of all, I think we definitely need to get more citizen involvement, and that's at the grassroots level and on up. Secondly, we need transparency as to see what's going on in all levels of government. And third, we need to be able to communicate what we see to in government to our citizens. And unfortunately, our newspapers, they're a dying breed. The San Bernardino Sun, Riverside, and all that are owned by, one conglomerate that really doesn't get down to what's happening on a local level. And, having citizen involvement, having good communication, and then transparency, we can see where we're going. And then, when we get to that standpoint, I think if we had a plan that everybody knew about and could get behind, that would go a long way in pulling in the same direction on the rope. So, like I said, I'm only picking up the last part of it, and this is my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. So that was Mark that called in yesterday, and that was his concern about having a plan last week, our first show. So we wanted to follow up. And we actually did have a plan. Eric, you want to explain or introduce the plan that we have?
Yeah, and I think we were talking, Nadia, on the purpose is to, get a discussion and have some information go out to everybody about there being a problem to start with. And, people can individually come across a problem in their interactions with government at all different levels, and we certainly have in San Bernardino County. But this is not a one issue, we got to fix this, we got to fix that. We believe that the county in general has gotten out of control from the standpoint that there's not an effective control on how the county works for the citizens of San Bernardino, because the largest contributions to the county come from the county employee union. They come from developers. They come from people who have an agenda. I think the tribal contributions are large.
He's talking about election source for election funds would be those areas that he just described.
So the agendas behind those contributions become more important than delivering a good product for the people of the county in general. And that's the first purpose of government, is to run a good job running the county and deliver services to the county at a good value, so you're not taxing the people, you're not charging them fees, you're not charging them fines, you're not going after the people for a whole bunch of money to run an inefficient government for San Bernardino County. And so we want to talk about why we believe that things are quite inefficient here, and that the people, as Mark says, have to get together and pull on the rope in the same direction, and that's going to take everybody understanding first what the problem is and how they can pull on the rope, which is the plan that he talked about. So I think first, before we talk about the plan, Tom, we probably have to talk about some of the indicators of the problem that exist in San Bernardino County, like the growth over the last 10 years and kind of some comparative, how is this county doing against other counties? How much bang for the buck in government are people in San Bernardino County getting in comparison to, say, Orange County or any of the
Sure, yeah. Like as we were researching information on the topic, one of the things we did was compare a ratio of employees to citizens,
right,
if you will, county employees to citizens. And We looked, and this is numbers from probably a year ago, but we looked at like the best in class, if you will, and we came up with Orange County at
I think it was Orange County, yeah.
One employee for every 176 citizens of the county. And then we looked at San Bernardino's and found that number was one employee for every 94 citizens of the county. And then when we look back in history, we saw that it was one employee for every 110 citizens of the county. So sorry to get into the numbers, that can get kind of, but basically the size of the bureaucratic class in the county is growing over the past 10 years. And there's been no indication that anybody is moving from either the system or from the political side, the elected side, to rein in that growth in terms of numbers of employees.
So then that's what Mark, that's the issue, and that's what Mark was calling about last week and said that we need a plan. And that's where once we did this type of study, and we can compare, that's when we bring the plan out, which is?
And that's what I really liked about Mark's call was he talked about communications, that's what we're doing now, and then a plan. And we actually had a plan, and it was based on the general underlying philosophy of constraining government. Eric talked about government growing at the county level. Government's kind of out of control at every level. We've just chosen to kind of try to really focus here locally on the county. So that's what we did.
Because we think we can make an impact here, and complaining about a big problem and doing something that's ineffective is not what we want to do. We think we can do something here, and that's why we've chosen to try and do something at a county level. And the idea is if we can show that it can be done here, then elsewhere other people can do the same thing, and in that way, overall, larger problems get fixed as well.
So what the plan was? Was that your next question?
No, okay. that's where we're going.
So what the plan was?
Well, let's throw a couple more statistics out there before we get into the plan and why there's a need for a plan. And that's so over the last 10 years we had, again, we mentioned it at the last show, that the county government grew the budget 42%. Over this same period, the number of people in the county, which is one of the poorer counties certainly in California, grew 4%. The county budget grew 42%. The number of people working in the county grew 18% over that period, and the number of people in the county only grew 4%. So you can pretty much see that, left to its own devices without constraining government, this is going to keep growing in that direction. It's got a full head of steam going in the direction of eventually everybody's going to have their own personal government or county employee, and that county employee is going to make twice as much as you do. So every dollar you earn, 66 cents would go to them. So left to its devices, or left on its own without constraining it somewhere, they're just going to keep growing and growing and growing until it's non-sustainable. And that's why there's a need to step in and say, well, wait a second. So that's where we come to the need for a plan. And right after we take a break, I guess we'll actually tell you what that is now.
Exactly. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back, and we'll definitely talk about the plan.
We'll be right back to U-Turn after this commercial break. Don't go away.
Want it easy? To listen to KCAA on your smartphone, that is, listen to your favorite programs easily. No more buffering, waiting, frustration, or downloading a special app. KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM have made it as easy as dialing the phone. Call our special dial-up phone number and listen until your heart's content. Listen in your Snuggie, or whatever. Just listen, or even on the road. Call 1-701-801-4444. That's 1-701-801-4444, and get ready to have your mind expanded on the station that leaves no listener behind. KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM. You can also listen at KCAAradio.com.
This segment of programming sponsored by Cybertime Network Communications. How's your internet? Feeling boxed in with the high costs of the internet? Ready for a better internet service? Then you're ready for Cybertime. Yes, there's an alternative to those big corporate internet service providers. It's Cybertime Network Communications. Cybertime is so good they provide all the connectivity for this radio station. Crisp, cool, fast, and sleek. Cybertime uses the latest leading-edge microwave technology. No wires, no cables, no sharing, and they're able to offer clients a safe, reliable, public or private network that fits almost any budget size. And several cities rely on Cybertime's microwave private network for their most critical mission applications. Get connected. Stay connected. Get smart. Get Cybertime. You can Google, text, or call Cybertime Network Communications at 909-795-9559. That's 909-795-9559.
Hey, this is Gary Garver. You know, I've been having trouble getting a good night's sleep lately. Maybe you have too. Well, if you have been, South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out. South Pacific Sleep Lab provides a personal study to help you find out how to get a great night of sleep. I've been having sleeping issues during the night lately for a number of reasons. South Pacific Sleep Lab evaluated me with an overnight study of my sleep pattern. With their professional staff, they were able to provide me with a diagnosis of my sleep pattern, and ever since, I haven't had much of a problem getting a great night of sleep. South Pacific Sleep Lab has locations throughout Southern California, including one in Fontana, and they will provide transportation to any of their locations at no cost to you. South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just give them a call at 844-SAD-5050 to schedule your appointment today. That's 844-SAD-5050.
Tom, Nadia, and Eric are back with more only on the U-Turn radio show right here on KCAA.
Welcome back to U-Turn Radio Show. We were just going over and describe some concerns that we have here in the county, and we were trying to get to the plan, but we're getting to the plan that we have here on U-Turn. Tom, you want to go over?
Sure. Yeah. And it all came from this ethic or this desire to constrain, to rein in the size of government. So we drafted some things and then sat down with a lawyer, and she said, yeah, that looks really nice, but can't do that, can't do that. I was actually really surprised at what we couldn't do, constrained by California.
For instance, because there's been this growth of $1.8 billion in the county government over the last 10 years, or 42% growth, our first thought was, well, why don't we say, let the citizens have a chance to vote on turning that around, that they should take and roll the county budget back by, that 1.8 billion, take that and divide it into 10 years and roll it back 180 million on the budget each year for 10 years. That was it was actually 5 years, but that's the general idea was let's just turn around this growth that's happening, and that was one of the things the lawyers said was not legally able to do. So there was a number of different plans, if you will, or takes on what could we do about this. Right. What could the citizens come up with? And then with researching the case law, she said that we actually could restrain the ratio of government people to private citizens. If other counties are able to do it for 1 in 176, 1 in county employee, 176 private, you can say, we as the citizens want you, San Bernardino County, to get that ratio down to some amount. So if 10 years ago, when things were running fine, well, I wouldn't know about running fine, but they ran just as well as they do now, or better, with 1 county employee for every approximately 110 people, and now it's 1 county employee for approximately every 94 people. We wrote a provision that essentially said, take that over a 10-year period. Is it 5 years or 10 years, Tom?
We were rolling. What we were doing was rolling things back to the 2010 level and taking 5 years to do that.
Okay, over 5 years, let's not And it was by not hiring anybody else, not having anybody lose their job, and not affecting the police on the street. They were exempt from any hiring freeze. But there was basically a hiring freeze for other departments until the ratio got to the point where they're bringing that back up. You know, either if there's a lot of growth in the county, that's going to help you bring that up, or, you know, you just don't hire a bunch of people until you get back to one county employee. That was in every 110, where it was in approximately the 2010 time period, and that was our plan. And that's what we set out to get a ballot initiative passed on and had it written up by the attorneys and try to give the people a chance to vote on.
Yeah, so we had that, and that initiative included some other leadership accountability things, and then we had a second initiative that was essentially just said, hey, let's do our best as a county to set pay and compensation for county employees equal or nearly equal to those in the private sector. So that was what we submitted to the county, and actually, when I say we're gonna interview the actual proponent, the person that signed the initiative, and he'll be able to describe what happened next.
And let me, before we get Gage on, let's a little bit of the background for the second part of that is that, and I'm looking at numbers from a study released by the California Policy Center, and these are people paid to come up with studies like this. They may have a political bent. We didn't look at them to try and get somebody to support anything. We were just trying to look at what are people in the county getting paid versus the people who are in the who live in the county and don't work for the county, that are supposed to be getting service from them. And on a statewide basis, you know, people that work for state and county governments are getting total compensation, pay and benefits packages of in 2015 of approximately $121,000, and the people who aren't working in state and federal government are only getting pay and compensation packages that are approximately $62,000, and those are, you know, that's not San Bernardino County, which is less than that. If you include all these unfunded pension liabilities that are causing bankruptcies and whatnot, the pay and benefits for state and county employees would be approximately $139,000, well over twice what the people in the private sector are getting. So that's why there was part of our plan was a second part which said, strive, do your best. There are ways to do it, and it gets difficult, but there are ways that the county can operate to bring its compensation on average down on average to what the people in the county are making. And that provides a real incentive to them to raise the compensation of the people in the county, because when they do, they raise their own. And that's the alignment that you know, forms the basis for good policy. So that was the second part of our plan.
Great. And somebody that was behind this with you guys, behind the plan, was Gage Bruce, which is our guest for today's show. Hello, Gage. Welcome to U-Turn Radio Show.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Fantastic. So, Gage, talk about, well, welcome to the show, and let's have you talk a little bit about how was your involvement with this plan.
So I got involved as a proponent with this plan. Signing the first initiatives were really how I started getting involved with this. And my initial plan was to just sign those first few initiatives, and I thought that was pretty much going to be the end of it. But when the county, you know, decided to sue me over this effort, I realized just how big of an issue this was. And so that's when I decided to stay in it for the long run, because I believe strongly in this, and I think, you know, us as citizens, we need to make a change. And so that's kind of how I got involved with this whole effort with the Red Redding Group.
And Tom, you were working with Gage when they decided to sue. The law says, and we did have the lawyers check this out ahead of time and say this is something the citizens can do an initiative on. This is something they can't, as we just explained. But the law says that the county's responsibility, and it's clear, is to give us a ballot summary and title, and then as a group, we have to go out and get a lot of signatures, about 27,000 valid signatures in order to put that on the ballot, and then it gets voted on by the people. But that's not exactly what they did. Tom?
Actually, I wanted to ask Gage, for that first initiative, were you the only proponent? Was it just you or some other folks?
No, there were some other folks that were involved, and multiple people got sued on the first initiatives that we put in.
Oh, yeah.
So
go ahead.
what happened on the weekend of November 2017?
On the weekend of November 2017, I was hanging out at home, barbecuing with the family, having a good day, and I got a knock on the door.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually expecting a package to arrive to my house that day, so that's what I thought was the knock on the door was my package coming, and I open up the door. Well, actually, my dad opens up the door. My dad's a big guy, and he opens up the door to some random guy, and he looked pretty intimidated by my dad because my dad's a big guy. And it was the guy who had the papers, and he was serving me the papers from the court, pretty much notifying me of my court date and notifying me that I was being sued. And I was really in shock, and honestly, I was pretty upset at first because I never thought that I was going to be sued out of all of this. But, once I got those papers and realized that this was really happening, that's when I realized that I wanted to be a part of this for the long run.
So what was your initial response once that happens? You got served, and then what do you do? What do you do from there?
My initial response was honestly to stop signing the initiatives because I was, a little bit afraid of going to court and getting sued and that sort of thing. I'm not a big fan of the court system and that sort of thing. But as I mentioned earlier, this is when I came to a realization of how big of an issue it's become. And mainly, I think, this is because people have just sat on the sidelines letting these things happen. And so I don't want to become one of those people who just sits on the sidelines and watches these things happen. And so my initial response was to get more involved. So I got in contact with Tom and saw what we could do to move forward with this stuff.
And that's actually, I think, a point that we'll talk about later on in the show is that effect on Gage to open a package, where he's doing good citizen work. He wants to submit an initiative. He opens a package, and I saw it. It says, it starts out with, "You are being sued," with an exclamation point. Mm-hmm. And Gage got that, and the two other proponents also got it. And one of the other proponents was, I want to keep fighting. The third guy was like, I did not sign up for this. And he immediately kind of said, "I'm not doing this anymore." And I don't blame him, because nobody wants to get dragged into court because you're doing your civic duty.
So what happened next? Like, what happens after that? Once you guys get that, you guys go to, what's the process? And how long was this for?
Well, it's still ongoing. I mean, what they do by, there's an election cycle for these. Putting something on the ballot initiative, putting forth a ballot initiative to address something like this is the peaceful way of saying, let the citizens vote on it and express that they want to change. And you guys that work in the government, you work for the citizens, you have to enact that. And if it's something they feel is going to adversely impact them, they certainly don't want to do that. And so there's a number of rules and hoops that they're going to put you through anyway to get something on an initiative. But they realized that by a number of different ways, using all the time period they can first, and then suing. I don't think they sued within even the statutory period that they had to respond with a ballot summary and title, that they put you at a tremendous disadvantage. Even if you're successful going to the court and saying, hey, what they're doing is wrong, even if you do that you're losing all this time that you've counted on to go out and get the signatures and get everything printed, and then you have to give it to them with time to validate the signatures. There's a lot of time that goes built in, and then you have to prepare to let people know what it's about, and a huge effort to get a countywide initiative before people can pass. I know that because I was part of doing this on one of these things in 2012 2012 time period with a neighbor of mine that was the sponsor of it. But and you know, so they try and derail the thing in this manner and try and scare everyone out away from doing it. And in this case, they didn't. So we arranged for some attorneys to be involved and push back and file a legal action back against them for not doing their statutory duty, and then you're involved in the court system, and it costs a lot of money, and they certainly are spending everybody else's money, and you have to spend the money that you have allocated to try and accomplish something. So they're taking up your time, they're taking up your money in trying to go in a peaceful way and try and change something. So, you know, as we go forward with this, I think we want to explain that, you know, what our reaction was to that,
right,
and how it's gone forward, and where we see going forward in the future, and why we need help from people.
Well, let me ask, whether it's you, Gage, or Tom, anybody that wants to answer this, what's the process once you go to court, once you get served, you get your court date, and you guys show up? What is that like?
Here's the layman's version, because I'm obviously not a lawyer. So my simplistic version is, when you get sued, you hire a lawyer. Your lawyer needs to collect a bunch of information and submit a bunch of paper. You get your day in court eventually,
right?
And it's literally maybe 15 minutes that you get.
It's
and if you lose,
a couple months later.
Yeah.
Even on an expedited basis,
yeah.
You know, it's 2 months later at least before you go to court.
And if you lose, you lose. And now you can appeal that, but you know, you're in it for another whatever amount of money that you're paying your lawyer. So that's the general process.
Right. So, Gage, let me ask you, how does it feel like, or how do you feel about political process right now?
The way I feel about the political process right now is that I feel like it's lost some of the transparency that used to be there, and I don't completely agree with some of the administrative decisions that have been made over the past decade or so. I also feel like the process of formulating and administrating public policy between social groups and political institutions, or between political leadership and public opinion, has become somewhat skewed. And, you know, this is a result of people in political leadership positions looking out for their own best interests, and like Eric mentioned earlier, trying to achieve their own agenda instead of those of the people. I feel like, you know, that's what's caused the political process to become the way it is today.
Now, let me ask you, would you do or participate in something like this again?
Yeah, I would absolutely participate in something like this again, because I believe in it strongly, and we need to make a change. And I feel like, you know, if people just keep sitting on the sidelines, things are just going to keep piling up, and year by year, the problems will get substantially larger to a point where eventually it's unsustainable. And when we reach that point, I think it'll be near impossible to make the changes that we're trying to make now. So, yeah, the best time is to start now, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gage, for being with us today on U-Turn Radio Show. We really appreciate it, and appreciate your comment and experience on this process.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks. And you two can also call in if you have any questions about what we're covering, or if you want to be part of the show, you can call in at 909-792-5222. That's 909-792-5222. If you guys, and
you will be rewarded.
I was just going to say that. How are we going to reward the listener if they call?
We will spin the dial for charity there.
And you can win a lot of dinero, a lot of money. We're going into a commercial break. When we come back, we'll go over what we just touched, what we talked about, Gage, and stay tuned. And like I said, you can also call in, be part of our show, 909-792-5222.
U-Turn is coming right back. Don't go away.
Why are you listening to this radio station? Why, when you can host your own radio show? You're listening and you think you can do better? You have a message or a product you want everyone to know about. Host your own radio show. Team up with the area's best radio professionals and let them make you sound like you should be on NBC. KCAA NBC Radio, that is. KCAA produces more than 50 local programs each week on subjects ranging from business and sports to political talk, vegan diets, or even marijuana-related issues. We don't just broadcast on the radio, we broadcast to the world. Online, on TV, on social media, on Facebook. You'll be all over. Imagine what your friends will say. And KCAA reaches over 5 million people on 3 radio stations. Join the staff on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. NBC Radio. Jump on the KCAA Express. Call 909-793-1065. That's 909-793-1065 and get ready to transmit.
Are your bones and joints as strong and as healthy as you would like? Quantum Nutrition Labs has 2 key supplements for you. Bone and Joint Support promotes healthy bones, joint function, and connective tissue. And our D3 Gold is essential for bone growth, mineralization, and the absorption of calcium. For a limited time, buy 2 bottles, get the 3rd one free. Call 888-588-7578. That's 888-588-7578. Or visit us online at qnlabs.com. That's qnlabs.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Marshall, PhD, host of Healthline. Tune in to get your questions answered and hear the latest breakthrough information for you and your family. Our product line, Quantum Nutrition Labs, delivers what others only promise, nutrition that really works.
Sports Circus with Sal Tezolino.
Introducing former Major League Baseball player Brett Boone.
Well, I'm sorry, I've been getting some texts, and I've got some inside information, and I can't really tell you right now.
You never know what's going to happen in the Sports Circus.
I'll share with you that I just got some insider information, so I can't share it yet.
It's official, ladies and gentlemen. There is a new New York Yankees manager, and you heard it right here first in the nation.
Just like a circus.
He's the ringmaster. Sports Circus with Sal Tezolino.
All right, Aaron got the job.
Hey, brother. Sports Circus, Monday through Friday, right here on KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM.
Tom, Nadia, and Eric are back with more only on the U-Turn radio show right here on KCAA.
Welcome back to U-Turn Radio Show. We just had our guest, Gage Bruce, on our show, and he was great to explain and go over his experience. Eric, do you want to tell us a little bit about who Gage Bruce is? He sounded very young.
No, he is young. He's about 24 years old.
Oh, really?
He just graduated about a year ago from California State San Bernardino, and he works across the country right now in the real estate side of some construction businesses. So certainly a good example of somebody who gets it, that, you know, these problems are going to fall on the younger generation disproportionately than the people like Tom and I. It's going to be more like people like you and Gage. So, you know, that's in it. What he said about things going and, you know, getting to be a larger problem. You know, a lot of this is stuff that everybody understands to be an eventual problem, but nobody wants to take responsibility for it now and stop it when it's going to be a whole lot easier to change something. They think it's going to get sorted out through bankruptcies and municipal and county bankruptcies down the road, which we've already seen a lot of. But that's just not the sane way to go about making these changes. The sane thing is for people to get involved, put some constraints on their government, turn things around. All the methods of changing things are not easy, and that's why they don't get done without the people standing up and saying they have to get done. But you have to tell the people that are doing a job for you, what the expectations are, and make them operate within that amount. And that goes the same for people that are working for you as a person, having an elected person or an employed person in your county government or city government or state government. But we're choosing to try and do something at the county level here. And Tom, what did they so after we did this, got this going, engaged, signed those things, got sued, and we got some attorneys involved to help with the lawsuit. Then what else did we do as a plan to go forward? Because what they did was not legal, but to them it was legal, and you can always make those arguments that, you know, certainly we're entitled to do this. And I think their argument was, you know, the state charter or constitution says that things like hiring people, and that's why our attorney said we couldn't do anything like, you know, we can't tell them that you have to change the pay of people. You can't change the way you're doing these defined benefit pension plans. You can't say that you cannot hire anybody until your ratio of county employees gets to a certain level. You can only do that by stating a ratio that they have to work to. But you have to leave the means of getting this done to, for instance, the county supervisors, because that's what the state constitution or charter says has to do it. And their contention was that if you have something that the state has given to somebody else, then the citizens can't act on that. They can't go and say, this is the way we want it done, because you could only maybe do an initiative at the state level, something that's hugely problematic.
Right. The maybe the best way to kind of bulletize it or put it is that an initiative can enact a statute. It can do a law, but it can't do policy, particularly if it can't set policy, particularly if that policy is, if you will, infringing on the authority of the Board of Supervisors, or trying to set a specific budget. Anything that is policy, you can't do with initiative. So that's kind of the way to...
In a state level?
No, that's any time, any initiative, certainly, I believe this is any initiative in the state of California.
Okay.
And that would include at the county level, is you can enact laws. Initiative can do a law, but it can't set policy. You can't tell them, you know, you can only spend $500,000 on X. That would be policy, so you can't do that via initiative.
So that puts a number of interesting things into what's going on here, and that's, you know, if there is a legal challenge to an initiative that the people are going to put forward, when's the right time to make that legal challenge? The county in 2012 let some of these things that we're trying to put forward as initiatives go forward. And so a person at the county said, okay, we'll let those go forward. If there's going to be any challenge to them, it'll be after somebody goes and gets signatures, puts it on the ballot, people vote on it, and then they can have a legal challenge at that point in time on it. And now the people at the county, in the county's council office, are saying, we want to take this before anybody can go get signatures on it, and we want to take it to the court system and let them rule on it, so that the people don't even get a chance to vote on it if we don't think that it's, in our opinion, legal. And so you can see how it's come down to a choice of a single person on a right that was reserved to the people.
That's it. Eric just made a key point, Nadia.
Okay.
That is where does the gatekeeper lie? And right now in San Bernardino County, the gatekeeper is the county council's office, and they decide if they believe something is unconstitutional, then they can go to the judge and say, Judge, we think this is unconstitutional, so we don't want to provide a ballot title and summary, and therefore the whole process is stopped right there.
Oh wow! So that is that what kind of happened in this case?
Well, we took it a step further.
It happened I don't have that many fingers.
Well, let's talk about it.
Well, our approach was, look, if you're going to spend that kind of money, and when these lawsuits come over, they're about 2 inches thick, and in my opinion, probably about $30,000 or $40,000 of legal fees. And it's a couple $100 to put an initiative in there. You have to pay that amount to put it in, and then they're supposed to give you a ballot summary and title. And if they want to give you a big lawsuit on them, first of all, from a purely strategic standpoint, we said, well, let's find out where the real boundaries are. What will they allow us to go forward with as citizens, if anything? Is there really a right to an initiative? So we put more, a lot more. We put 12 more or something.
13 total.
13 total initiatives into them to see, is this really something where there's some discretion being applied? And none of these initiatives were anything that we wanted to do something wacky. They were putting forth initiatives like, let's restrain the budget of the county supervisors themselves. They spend their staff people make on average all over $100,000, and they got a whole lot of them, like they're twice as many as they were 10 years ago, and these people, they've given away all their ability to actually affect any county policy to this county CEO they brought in, so they really don't have a job, but they get a whole bunch of people pay them a lot of money. So we put in something saying restrict the county supervisor staff, for instance, and just to give you a flavor of what we're putting in there, not innocuous stuff that the citizens should, in our mind, be able to have a say-so on. And out of 13, they allowed 2 of them to go forward. Now, what can we gather out of that? If they thought they had no self-interest at the county council level, if there's no way it could affect the amount of people that the county council's office and that the county in general could hire and pay, and it only affected the supervisors, they seemed to let it go through, which was rare, 2 out of 13. But anything else, they were saying, no way. You have to go to a county judge or a judge for the county, also getting paid by the county, and ask them if that's okay.
So that's a very long process as well, just to do that. And even with 2 that got approved, right?
Well, 2 got approved, but they're not really what we wanted to see enacted as policy. We didn't think those were going to be the right restraints on government. It's not, but they left it, when they take this thing of stop being the gatekeeper and saying we're going to just tell you not what you can do or can't do. There's no guidance for that. Just anything that comes up, a single person of the county council's office can make a decision, can this go forward or not? When they do that, then you're left deciding what can we do or what can't we do. So our approach was to explore it with additional initiative to try and find where those boundaries are. And it seems to come down to stuff that doesn't affect them, they're okay letting the citizens vote on. But if you want to affect how the county's growing, how they're paying their people and that type of stuff, they're not going to give you a chance to do that. And that raises the issue of conflict of interest. If you're conflicted, especially in a governmental situation, you should put that decision on somebody that's not conflicted. They should take this out of the county court systems to other court systems. They should bring somebody else in to clearly look at this independently. If they have an vested interest in getting paid more or hiring more people in their department, they should not even be ruling on that. And the law says they're not to rule on it. The law says they're supposed to provide a ballot summary and title, and they're not following the law.
We're going to have to go to our last break, and then we're going to wrap up this our second show here on U-Turn Radio. And this is a lot of good information to also know as a listener, as just living in the county, just the process alone. Like, I was not aware of this type of process that happens, and with the power that we have or don't have, or how the county tries to stop you as well. So when we get back, we'll wrap up. You're listening to U-Turn Radio.
We'll be right back to U-Turn after this commercial break. Don't go away.
I'm so tired of the buffering on my smartphone.
I'm so over it. Next.
Right? I am so over it. Next.
A radio? Next.
No buffering, just your favorite local radio station?
Next Radio uses the FM tuner that is already built into your phone, so you can listen to your favorite stations on the go. Because Next Radio uses the FM tuner already built into your smartphone, it saves on data and battery usage. When compared to streaming audio, Next Radio uses less than 1/10 of your data, and your battery will last 3 times longer. Next Radio. It's FM radio on your smartphone.
Introducing a radio inside your cell phone. Listen to all kinds of local radio stations, including KCAA 106.5 Yucaipa and 102.3 Riverside on Next Radio. Download the free Next Radio app today. 100% free, 100% fun, 0% buffering. Stop the buffer and listen to KCAA.
KCAA Radio is proud to announce that the Tri-City Center in Redlands is our new home. We're fortunate to be located among some of the best businesses in the region. Among our neighbors are Ray Chiropractic, Brace Connection Orthodontist, Pain Solutions Medical Massage, Rent-A-Center, MVP Staffing Agency, Jenny Craig, Salon Centric, and many more. The Tri-City Shopping Center is located just off the I-10 between Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. The Tri-City Center is the mall with a heart. If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email ceo@kcaaradio.com.
KCAA. Tom, Nadia, and Eric are back with more only on the U-Turn radio show right here on KCAA.
Welcome back to U-Turn Radio. Well, it's been a great show full of good information. Tom, for the people that are just tuning in, let's give them a quick wrap-up of what they missed earlier in the show. And for the people that have been with us, let's give them a wrap-up of what the show consisted of today.
Okay. You know, I think I'm going to give a key takeaway.
Oh, fantastic.
And here's a key takeaway for the listeners, I believe, and that is who's the gatekeeper for the initiative process. California State Constitution clearly gives that right to put an initiative on the ballot to the citizens.
No, I think it was retained by the citizens when they created the Constitution. They never gave that right to anybody. The citizens reserved the right to the initiative process. It was never given to anybody.
That's great. It adheres to the city. It is ours by virtue of the fact that we are California citizens.
And we never gave it to anybody else.
The county's role in this is what they call a ministerial duty, which means if you could hire a computer to do it, you could have the computer do it. You just plug it in. They're supposed to give you back a ballot title and summary, and you're off to gather your initiatives, which that is where the people decide what goes on the ballot. Because you got to go get, at least 27,000 people to agree with you.
So and that's the gatekeeper. I mean, if you can't get 27,000 people to sign on, then you're not moving forward with the ballot initiative. It keeps the real wacky stuff out there. But anything you can get a large amount of the people to agree they want to vote on, the citizens have a right to vote on. That's what they retained. And that's what the law says, and that's what the county's not doing.
And that's what we're trying to bring awareness to. This is a U-Turn radio show every Sunday from 2 to 3. We encourage you guys to also call if you guys want to talk about any issue that's going on or that you've experienced with the county at 909-792-5222. That's 909-792-5222. And I will also say that if you speak Spanish, si hablas en español, también pueden llamar al 909-792-5222, porque yo hablo español y también le queremos ayudar a ustedes como gente que vive, trabaja aquí en la ciudad. Este show es para ustedes. I will translate. Yo les voy a ayudar, and Eric and Tom will give us answers, or we can move forward from there if you guys have any questions in Spanish or English. Right, guys?
Gracias.
on my senior year final in Spanish, I got 6 out of 100.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
That's terrible. But I'm here, so I will help you guys out. And that concludes our show today. Thank you so much for listening to U-Turn Radio. Like I said, we encourage you guys to call in 909-792-5222. Our next show, next Sunday from 2 to 3 here on KCAA.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.7